Alright, hey guys, so we're going to start by reviewing genetics. So before we do that, we need to know what it is. Genetics is simply the study of heredity and variation. Heredity is just passing genes down, and variation is just how all of these genes get mixed up. We're going to do a little demonstration of variation using Uno cards. Just sit tight for about a minute. Take any notes somewhere in a blank space of your page. So, I'm going to use Uno cards to talk about this. Yes, I know this is corny, but bear with me. So, let's say that you have a deck of a hand of all blue cards. There's virtually no variation in this hand of cards because I only see one color. This also is not going to help me win the game because I know that if I have more than one color, I'm going to have a better chance at winning. If we take two of these Uno cards, and let's say they have pretty Uno card babies, alright, and their offspring, they're going to have two blue card babies and two red card babies. I see that their offspring now actually has more variation because I see more than one color. This addition also is going to help me win the game because I now have more than one color. So it's very similar in a population. The more variation a population has, the better chance their survival is. Just like the more colors I have in an Uno hand is going to give me a better shot at winning the game. So now that we've reviewed variation, we're going to go over questions 1 through 3 together. Make sure that as I'm annotating, you are annotating along with me. Alright, so the first thing that I always do, this is unnecessary, is bracket my question. So it says, which statement below is supported by the phenotypes you observe in the organisms above? So it's talking about these organisms. I know that phenotypes are physical traits. Alright, so I'm going to look at my organisms here and see what differences in the traits I can see. So I see in 3 of the flies, I have a lighter color, and in this one I have a darker color, so I'm going to write down color as one of the traits that look different between the organisms. The other thing I noticed that's different is 1, 2, 3 of the flies have longer wings, and the 4th one has shorter wings. So I'm going to write down wing length as my second trait. So if I have 2 traits, I know that how we decide or how we cross 2 traits is through a dihybrid cross. So more than likely these organisms are from a dihybrid cross. Now I get to go through my answer choices. So A, the F1 generation, if you don't know what this is, you can reference up here, is only composed of one gender. I can't tell that from my image, so this is not a match. Only half of the F1 generation will be able to reproduce successfully. I cannot tell that either from my diagram, so that's not a match. The generation is a result of a monohybrid cross. Remember, mono means one, so I should only be able to see one trait difference if that was the case. So this is not a match. And then finally, the F1 generation is a result of a dihybrid cross. The fact that I saw 2 trait differences tells me that this is a match. If I had gotten stuck at any point, like if you were going through this and got stuck, my advice would have been to find where it says traits. You would have been between a dihybrid and a monohybrid cross. Because you saw 2 traits, that would have told you that this was from a dihybrid cross. So just keep that in mind. Let's go to question number 2. Alright, so I'm going to bracket my question. It says homologous, which are just matching chromosomes, exchanging genetic material. I know that this is crossing over. In meiosis, which forms 4 haploid gametes, does which of the following? Alright, so essentially what's the purpose of crossing over is what it's asking me. To answer this question, I'm actually going to draw a picture just to remind us exactly what crossing over is. So it told me that it's homologous chromosomes, so I'm going to draw homologous chromosomes. It's like matching chromosomes. Exchanging genetic material. I know that the point where these chromosomes are touching is where they're exchanging that material. And after they've crossed over or exchanged, I'm now going to have chromosomes that have a little bit of each other's genes. So if we see here these little points, these are the genes that have crossed over from one chromosome to the other. I also know that crossing over increases genetic variation. If you forgot any of these key points, all you have to do is go to where it says meiosis, because that was one of our key words, and it tells you all of the key points that I just went over. So if you need a refresher, look there. Alright, so now I get to go through and match my answer choices. So A, help cells go from diploid to haploid number of chromosomes. Yes, this happens in meiosis, but that's not the specific purpose of crossing over, so this is not a match. Alright, help cells go from haploid to diploid number of chromosomes. This is the opposite of meiosis. Increases the likelihood cells continue through mitosis. Mitosis has nothing to do with sexual reproduction, so this is not a match. Alright, and then increases genetic variation in the offspring or children of organisms. Absolutely. This crossing over could have actually been the reason why in our Uno card example that red cards appeared. Alright, let's move on to number 3. Last question. Here we go. So I'm going to bracket my question first of all. In a cross between two bears with straight fur, what percentage of the offspring can be expected to have curly fur? Alright, I know that cross means mate. However, I need to go back into my description because I have no idea if straight fur is dominant or recessive. Alright, as I go through, I'm just going to eliminate some unnecessary information. Bears can have different types of fur. Okay, great. Curly hair, whew, this is spelled wrong, goes toward the bear's body. Again, unnecessary. Assume that fur type is determined by a single gene. If we're talking about a single gene, that tells me automatically that this is a monohybrid cross. So monohybrid crosses, I know I have to make a Punnett square that has 4 boxes. The allele for curly hair is dominant. Dominant is always uppercase, so I'm drawing an uppercase C over the allele for straight fur. So I know that this is going to be recessive, so I'm going to draw a lowercase c. It's telling me in a cross or a mating between two bears with straight fur. So straight fur, remember, is recessive. To see a recessive trait, I need to have 2 lowercase letters. So each bear is going to have this genotype of homozygous recessive or little c, little c. I'm going to fill those in my Punnett square. So bear 1 is on the top and bear 2 is on the side. As I fill this in, this is what I get. From this, I can see that 100% of their children are going to have straight hair or straight fur, and then 0% have curly fur because I see no capital C's or no capital letters. Now my question asked me what percentage of the offspring can be expected to have curly fur. Well, if I look at my analysis, that's 0%. So right now, I want you to make sure that your page is annotated exactly like mine, and just be reminded that as you're going through questions, use this resource page that you can get from answering or looking at the keywords. You may also have to draw a picture like I did here. After you've completed 4 through 8, make sure that you get my signature because this is for a grade, and then you also have an extra credit opportunity here for 5 points. So get started with genetics and have fun.